Hello and welcome, dear viewers, to our live coverage on the latest local and regional news as we dive into the latest updates and provide you all with breaking news up until this hour. As we enter the 8th consecutive night following the heinous Iranian attacks on the state of Kuwait, we have major updates over the past 24 hours up until this very moment. The Ministry of Information would first like to urge all citizens and residents to obtain their news from verified sources, and through this coverage, we'll provide you all related updates on the local and regional fronts. We'll begin with His Highness the Crown Prince, Sheikh Sabah Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah, may Allah protect him, who visited the General Headquarters of the National Guard, accompanied by His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Abdullah Al Ahmed Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, may Allah protect him. Upon his arrival, His Highness was received by His Excellency the Deputy Chief of the National Guard, Sheikh Faisal Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jabr Al Sabah, the Undersecretary of the National Guard, Lieutenant General Hamid Salim Al Berjes, and senior National Guard commanders. During the visit, His Highness the Crown Prince, may Allah protect him, conveyed the greetings of His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Mishal Al Ahmed Al Jabr Al Sabah, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, may Allah protect and bless him. His Highness then praised the significant efforts exerted by the Kuwait National Guard to keep pace with the region's rapidly developing developments. His Highness was also briefed on the latest developments, the mechanisms deployed by the National Guard forces in responding to the heinous attacks targeting the state of Kuwait during this difficult period, and the decisive security measures and procedures being implemented to protect the country's vital assets and to strengthen security and stability. His Highness praised the sincere efforts and great sacrifices of the members of the National Guard in performing their national duty, commending their courage and high vigilance in defending the nation's security, protecting its stability, and preserving its achievements. His Highness further affirmed that the dedication, loyalty, and field competence demonstrated by the members of the National Guard embody the highest ideals of loyalty and belonging to the nation and its wise leadership, keeping them a strong support and impregnable shield for the country. His Highness then prayed to Allah Almighty to perpetuate the blessings of security, safety, stability, and prosperity upon our dear homeland under the wise leadership of His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Mishal Al Ahmed Al Jabr Al Sabah. May Allah bless and protect him. His Highness also prayed to Allah Almighty to bestow His abundant mercy and forgiveness upon our righteous martyrs who have sacrificed their pure souls in defense of the homeland and in the preservation of its honor and dignity, as well as to protect Kuwait, its people, and all those residing on its land from all harm and evil. His Highness the Crown Prince, may Allah protect him, and His Highness the Prime Minister, may Allah protect him, were accompanied during the visit by His Excellency Sheikh Hamid Jabr Al Ali Al Sabah, the Minister of Amiri Diwan Affairs, His Excellency Sheikh Thamir Jabr Al Ahmed Al Sabah, the head of the Crown Prince's Diwan, and His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah Ali Abdullah Al Salim Al Sabah, the Minister of Defense. Furthermore, His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Abdullah Al Ahmed Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, may Allah protect him, conducted an inspection visit to the National Water Control Center, accompanied by Dr. Sabeh Abdulaziz Al Mukhazim and Dr. Adil Mohammed Al Zaman. During the visit, His Highness reviewed the center's workflow and the monitoring and operation of the water system. He also listened to a briefing from officials regarding the stability of the water network and the readiness of teams to enhance preventative measures and respond to any potential emergency. His Highness expressed his deep appreciation for the national personnel and the staff working at the National Water Control Center, commending their sincere efforts and dedication in performing their duties under these exceptional circumstances to ensure the stability and the efficiency of the water network. The state of Kuwait is still standing in the face of the continuous and treacherous Iranian attacks on its territory, as well as other Gulf countries in the region. For their part, the GCC member states maintain a firm and united stance against the Iranian attacks on their sovereignty, describing these attacks as blatant evidence of its malicious intentions towards the Gulf states. Here's more on that story in this report.
The state of Kuwait is standing united in the face of Iran's aggression and violence, with its people showing calm, strength, and deep love for the homeland. Despite the fact that the sounds of sirens and the news of strikes have caused worry in our homes, however, Kuwait did not surrender to panic under the wise leadership of His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Mish'al al-Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, His Highness the Crown Prince, Sheikh Sabah Khalid al-Hamid al-Sabah, may Allah protect him, and His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Abdullah al-Ahmed al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, may Allah protect him. Gratitude is also extended to the efforts exerted by Kuwait's armed forces and security personnel, who are sacrificing their lives to maintain the security and stability of the country, mainly the two brave servicemen who paid the highest price during this time of tension. Their sacrifice reminds us that peace is not just a political word, but a human need worth protecting, while stressing the need to defend our homeland, not only with systems and preparedness, but with unity, patience, and faith. These hard days also remind us of the special relations that linked between the Gulf brotherly and sisterly states, confirming their common destiny and sharing goals. Amid the regional security escalation, the state of Kuwait has expressed condemnation in the strongest possible terms of the continued treacherous Iranian attacks on GCC states that have targeted civilian and diplomatic facilities, most recently the premises of the United States Embassy in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in clear violation of all international and United Nations UN laws concerning the sanctity of diplomatic missions. This, in addition to the blatant aggression against civilian and residential facilities in the United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Bahrain, the Sultanate of Oman, and the State of Qatar. Kuwait stressed that Iran's attacks, along with its unjustified, illegal, and immoral escalation, are blatant evidence of its persistent effort to destabilize security and stability in the region. The Kuwaiti government reiterated that targeting the territories of GCC states cannot be accepted under any justification or pretext, and that Iran must immediately cease its aggressions. Meanwhile, the Kuwaiti leadership reiterated full solidarity of all GCC states, standing as one rank in the face of these brutal Iranian attacks to defend their sovereignty, security, and national interests.
في ظل الأوضاع الراهنة معكم اليوم وزارة التجارة والصناعة المعنية في ملف الأمن الغذائي. اليوم نطمنكم بأن الوضع التمويني مستقر تماما ولا يوجد أي نقص في المواد الغذائية الأساسية. كذلك حركة الأسواق طبيعية والسلع متوفرة في نقاط البيع والمخازن بشكل منتظم. إنتاج المياه في المصانع المحلية مستمر على مدار الساعة لضمان تلبية احتياجات الجميع. سلاسل الإمداد تعمل بشكل طبيعي وسلس ولا توجد أي عوائق في تدفق السلع إلى الأسواق، كما أن الأسواق المركزية وجميع نقاط البيع تعمل بشكل طبيعي، والجمعيات التعاونية تواصل نشاطها المعتاد دون أي تأثير. ونؤكد على الجاهزية الكاملة لخطط الطوارئ مع استمرار فرق الرقابة التجارية في متابعة الأسواق ميدانيا بشكل يومي لضمان استقرار الأسعار وتوفر السلع الأساسية فيها. لذلك اليوم احنا نطمنكم ونبشركم بأن الأمور طيبة إن شاء الله ويحافظ الله.
Since the formation of the Gulf Cooperation Council, all 6 member states have constantly coordinated and cooperated, whether in times of crises or peace. In fact, as we currently undergo this tense situation, the Minister of Defense, Sheikh Abdullah Ali Abdullah Al-Salim Al-Sabah, held a phone call with his Saudi counterpart, Prince Khalid bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, during which they discussed the latest developments in the region and the current security situation. The General Staff of the Armed Forces stated that during the call, they also discussed aspects of cooperation and joint coordination between the two countries in defense and military fields. According to the statement, the Minister of Defense affirmed the State of Kuwait's support for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its commitment to anything that would preserve its security and stability, emphasizing the importance of strengthening coordination and joint cooperation to reinforce security and stability within the region. Furthermore, the Minister of Defense, Sheikh Abdullah Ali Abdullah Al-Salim Al-Sabah, discussed with the United Arab Emirates Minister of State for Defense Affairs, Mohammed bin Mubarak Al-Mazroui, coordination and joint cooperation between the two countries to enhance security and stability. The Ministry of Defense stated that this came during a phone call in which they also discussed the latest developments within the region. The Minister of Defense, Sheikh Abdullah Ali Abdullah Al-Salim Al-Sabah, received a phone call from the Minister of Armies and Veteran Affairs of the French Republic, Catherine Vautrin. The ministry stated that the phone call discussed topics of mutual interest, including the possibility of providing defensive reinforcements within the framework of existing military cooperation between the two friendly countries. The Minister of Defense valued the call, praising the strength of relations between the State of Kuwait and the French Republic, and further emphasized the depth of the strategic partnership between the two friendly nations. In other local news, the official spokesperson for the Ministry of Defense, Colonel Saoud Al-Watwan, announced that the Kuwaiti Armed Forces intercepted a wave of hostile missiles and drone attacks over the past 24 hours. In a statement, he said Kuwait's air defense systems had successfully intercepted and destroyed 12 drones over the northern and central regions of the country and 14 missiles over the south, 2 of which fell outside the threat zone. The statement noted that the attacks resulted only in material damage caused by falling debris. The General Staff of the Army explained that explosions heard in various parts of the country were the result of air defense systems intercepting ballistic and cruise missiles as well as drones. The armed forces urged the public to follow safety instructions issued by the relevant authorities and affirmed full readiness to confront any threats targeting the nation's security and stability.
الإدارة العامة للدفاع المدني على استعداد تام وجاهزية عالية، ونعمل وفق خطط مدروسة ومحدثة باستمرار لمواجهة أي طارئ، ونتابع مع الجهات الحكومية كل ما يخص احتياجاتها لضمان استمرار نظام سير العمل وعجلة الإنتاج وسير الحياة الطبيعية، ونقول للجميع سلامتكم أولويتنا.
The Arab League announced that an emergency meeting of the Arab foreign ministers will be held tomorrow, Sunday, via a video conference to discuss Iran's ongoing attacks on Arab and Gulf countries. Ambassador Hussam Zeki stated in a press release that the meeting was requested by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to address the escalating military situation in the Middle East and the continued Iranian assault on GCC countries. More details in this report.
The Council of the League of Arab States will convene an emergency meeting tomorrow at the level of foreign ministers via video conference to address the escalating regional situation and recent Iranian attacks on several Arab countries. The meeting aims to coordinate a unified Arab position in response to the violations of national sovereignty and the threats posed to regional security and stability. According to Assistant Secretary General of the Arab League, Hussam Zeki, this session comes amid rapidly evolving developments in the Middle East and reflects growing concern among Arab states regarding repeated Iranian actions. In particular, the ministers are expected to review a series of recent missile and drone strikes that targeted strategic sites across multiple countries, including Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Jordan. These incidents have heightened regional tensions and prompted intensified diplomatic consultations among Arab governments to determine collective measures that could deter further escalation and reinforce regional security coordination. Subsequently, on Monday, European leaders are expected to hold a separate virtual consultation with several Middle Eastern counterparts to discuss the same crisis and its wider implications. The meeting will be chaired by President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, alongside President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. According to a spokesperson for Antonio Costa, the discussions will provide an opportunity for regional leaders to present their assessments on the ongoing conflict and its potential consequences for regional stability and global security. In addition, participants will explore ways in which the European Union and its member states can offer further political, diplomatic, and humanitarian support to affected countries. The dialogue is expected to focus on de-escalation efforts, diplomatic coordination, and possible mechanisms for ending the current confrontation while preventing further instability across the region. In this context, the emergency diplomatic engagements scheduled for Sunday and Monday follow a key meeting held on Thursday, the 5th of March, between foreign ministers of the Gulf Cooperation Council and the European Union. The meeting was chaired on the GCC side by Abdulatif bin Rashid Al-Zayani, Foreign Minister of Bahrain and current chair of the GCC Ministerial Council, alongside Jassim Hamad Libdawi, Secretary General of the GCC. The European delegation was led by Kaja Kallas, EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, with the participation of EU member states' foreign ministers. During the meeting, both sides strongly condemned what they described as unjustifiable Iranian attacks targeting civilian infrastructure, including oil installations, service facilities, and residential areas in GCC countries. The ministers reaffirmed their commitment to regional stability, respect for international law, and the protection of civilians, while stressing the right of GCC states to defend themselves under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. They also highlighted the importance of continued diplomacy, welcomed mediation efforts, particularly by Oman, and emphasized the need to safeguard maritime routes, such as the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb, which are vital to global energy security and international trade.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will be joined by Mr. Mohammed Rajab Barakat, a Euro-Arab relations expert that will shed light on the European response to the Iranian attacks and further describe the diplomatic efforts and relations between the Gulf states and their European partners. Welcome, Mr. Mohammed. Can you tell us about the reaction coming straight from Brussels and the EU as a whole?
The European Union and its member states countries have called for international law to be followed and condemned the Iranian regime. But they appeared divided and they failed to articulate a common approach. EU member states and United Kingdom decided to take defensive measures if a European country is attacked, but they disagree on Trump's war goals, and none of the member states will enter the war directly. President Donald Trump expects all of his European allies to back the US and Israelis' war against Iran. But Spanish Prime Minister Mr. Pedro Sanchez refused the participation of Spain in this war because it will be against international law, as he said. The British Prime Minister, Mr. Keir Starmer, did not believe in regime change from the skies in Iran, and he expressed doubts about the legality of the war. But he allowed US forces to use 2 British military bases in the Gulf. And also the French President, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, allowed US Army to use the French bases, and he condemned Iran because its attacks against the Gulf Cooperation Council countries.
And Mr. Mohammed, can you describe the contact and the dialogue between Kuwait and other Gulf states with their partners in the European Union?
And Iranians' inexcusable attacks against the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. They underscored the strategic partnership between the EU and the Gulf Cooperation Council and strongly condemned the unjustifiable Iranian attacks against the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, which threaten regional and global security, and called on Iran to cease immediately its attacks. They reiterated their commitment to regional stability and called for protection of civilians and full respect of international law. They urged Iran to curb its nuclear program and ballistic missile program. They reaffirmed their unwavering commitment to dialogue and diplomacy as means to resolve the crisis, commending the constructive role of Oman. They called the inherent right of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries in accordance with the Article 51 of the United Nations Charter to defend themselves individually and collectively against the armed attacks on Iran.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed, for your time and your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Mohammed Rajai Barakat, a Euro-Arab relations expert. We'll be back with our live coverage shortly after this break.
في ظل الأوضاع الراهنة معكم اليوم وزارة التجارة والصناعة المعنية في ملف الأمن الغذائي. اليوم نطمنكم بأن الوضع التمويني مستقر تماما ولا يوجد أي نقص في المواد الغذائية الأساسية. كذلك حركة الأسواق طبيعية والسلع متوفرة في نقاط البيع والمخازن بشكل منتظم. إنتاج المياه في المصانع المحلية مستمر على مدار الساعة لضمان تلبية احتياجات الجميع. سلاسل الإمداد تعمل بشكل طبيعي وسلس ولا توجد أي عوائق في تدفق السلع إلى الأسواق، كما أن الأسواق المركزية وجميع نقاط البيع تعمل بشكل طبيعي، والجمعيات التعاونية تواصل نشاطها المعتاد دون أي تأثير. ونؤكد على الجاهزية الكاملة لخطط الطوارئ مع استمرار فرق الرقابة التجارية في متابعة الأسواق ميدانيا بشكل يومي لضمان استقرار الأسعار وتوفر السلع الأساسية فيها. لذلك اليوم احنا نطمنكم ونبشركم بأن الأمور طيبة إن شاء الله ويحافظ الله.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue our live coverage giving you the latest news and updates happening across Kuwait and the region as a whole. However, in local news, the public prosecution announced the pre-trial detention of 13 suspects following investigations into separate cases involving the dissemination of news, statements, and rumors through various digital platforms. The public prosecution stressed that protecting national unity and public calm is a key legal objective. Citizens and residents were urged repeatedly to act responsibly, avoid rumors or misleading content, and to support the nation, its leadership, and institutions while maintaining awareness, solidarity, and discipline online. In related news, the Ministry of Interior announced that its relevant authorities have arrested 3 individuals after a video surfaced showing them mocking the current situation in the country. This behavior constitutes charges of spreading false news and harming national interest. The ministry stated that the actions of these individuals are unacceptable, with the relevant authorities taking immediate action, detaining them, and starting the necessary legal procedures to refer them to the competent authorities. The ministry further reiterated its firm stance on the necessity of adhering to the laws and regulations governing the use of social media, as well as warned against publishing or circulating any content that could harm the country's interests. In more local news, the Deputy Director of the General Fire Force for Civil Protection, Brigadier General Omar Burisli, paid an inspection visit to several fire stations to assess and ensure the readiness of the forces stationed at these centers. The fire department stated that Brigadier General Burisli continued his visit to a number of force points assigned to secure hospitals. This was to review the safety and the fire prevention systems and equipment, as well as to monitor all preparations and readiness for securing vital sites across the country in light of the current circumstances. the Minister of State for Communications and Information Technology and the Acting Minister of Information and Culture, Umar Al-Umar, conducted a field tour of several ministry facilities to review operational readiness and to strengthen technical preparedness. During parts of the tour, he was accompanied by Dr. Reem Al-Fulej, where they reviewed facility readiness and approved several emergency plans and received briefings from officials on measures taken to enhance preparedness under various conditions and circumstances. The tour also included a visit to the Ministry of Communications to review the readiness of communication networks and emergency plans, including network operations, technical monitoring centers, and contingency measures to handle any pressure affecting service continuity. Minister Al-Umar stressed that maintaining communication services is a key pillar of national preparedness.
تؤكد وزارة الكهرباء والماء والطاقة المتجددة بأن عمليات توليد الطاقة الكهربائية وتحلية المياه تسير وفق الخطط التشغيلية المعتادة، وتؤكد الوزارة على جاهزيتها التامة للتعامل مع أي طارئ من خلال خطط متكاملة تتضمن الإجراءات الواجب اتباعها لاستمرارية الكهرباء والماء. وتوفر لدى الوزارة كفاءات وطنية مؤهلة وعلى أعلى درجات الاستعداد لتفعيل هذه الخطط متى ما دعت الحاجة. والمخزون الاستراتيجي من المياه العذبة في البلاد في ازدياد، إلى جانب توفر مخزون من المياه الجوفية، مما يعزز قدرة المنظومة الوطنية على الصمود والتعامل مع مختلف الظروف.
As you could tell in that break we saw just now, the state authorities and many of the institutions and ministries are working around the clock to ensure safety, stability, and the ongoing of regular life here in the state of Kuwait. In fact, as part of the state's efforts to maintain national security and stability, the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Interior, Sheikh Fahd Yusuf Saud Al-Sabah, along with the Minister of Defense, Sheikh Abdullah Ali Abdullah Al-Sabah, emphasized heightened readiness and unified coordination among security and the military sectors. The Kuwait National Guard and the Civil Defense also took part in this process, standing as a unified force while reflecting the state's ability to efficiently manage the crisis. Let's take a look at this report.
The first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Interior, Sheikh Fahd Yusuf Saud Al-Sabah, affirmed the full readiness of Kuwait's military and security forces to confront and prevent any hostile attack threatening the nation's safety and security. Sheikh Fahd Yusuf Saud Al-Sabah said that Kuwait Armed Forces, Police, Kuwait National Guard, and Kuwait Fire Force are fully prepared amid current regional developments, including the repercussions of the US-Israeli strikes on Iran. The minister stressed that all state agencies are performing their duties to ensure the continued operation of public facilities and 24-hour services for citizens and residents. Sheikh Fahd Al-Yusuf called on citizens and residents to remain calm, reassuring them that crises are temporary and challenges strengthen national unity. The minister emphasized adherence to instructions from official security authorities, obtaining information only from verified sources, and refraining from spreading rumors, false news, or unverified information on social media or other channels, noting that such acts threaten public stability. Sheikh Fahd Al-Yusuf also warned that any attempt to alarm citizens or residents or to circulate unverified news will face legal accountability, with violations of laws of official decisions dealt with firmly and immediately. The first Deputy Prime Minister and Interior Minister, Sheikh Fahd Al-Yusuf, alongside Minister of Defense, Sheikh Abdullah Ali Abdullah Al-Sabah, closely monitored developments in the National Decision-Making Room and the Joint Civil Defense Operations Room, emphasizing heightened readiness, unified coordination among security and military sectors, and strict enforcement of the law. During this hard time, Minister of Defense Sheikh Abdullah Ali Abdullah Al-Salim Al-Sabah has received several letters and calls from world leaders and senior officials in which they discuss the current regional developments and express their full solidarity with the state of Kuwait. As the Chief of Kuwait National Guard, Sheikh Mubarak Hamoud Al-Jaber Al-Sabah chaired several meetings at the Operations Center with senior leaders to follow up on readiness and coordination between various units. The Chief of the General Staff of Kuwait's Army, Lieutenant General Khalid Al-Shurayyan, and the National Guard Under Secretary, Lieutenant General Hamad Al-Barjas, affirmed the readiness of the Kuwait Army and National Guard forces to deal with various incidents within the framework of joint work, unifying efforts and enhancing integration between the various military sectors. The National Guard confirmed that radiation readings in Kuwait's airspace and territorial waters remain within normal levels, emphasizing that specialized teams continue monitoring in coordination with relevant authorities. Kuwait's armed forces affirmed full readiness to address all developments, safeguard Kuwait's territory and airspace, and ensure the safety of citizens and residents by intercepting waves of missiles and drones detected in the country's airspace. On the other hand, the Civil Defense Operations Room stood as a unified force, reflecting the state's ability to efficiently manage crises. Established from a very first moment of the Iranian aggression, the Civil Defense General Directorate's Operation Room has been responding immediately to inquiries and reports since the initial attacks on Kuwaiti territory. It served as a vital hub of preparedness where government institutions collaborate in a coordinated and well-planned manner, reflecting the high level of readiness and the state's capacity for effective crisis management. Representatives from both civilian and military agencies are working around the clock in the operations room to provide support and respond to public inquiries. Equipped with display screens to monitor all roads and critical locations, the operations room also hosts vigilant civil defense personnel who respond to emergencies by activating 3-tone sirens, a flashing tone signaling imminent danger, a wavy tone indicating actual danger, and a continuous tone signaling that the danger has passed. By managing all inquiries and reports immediately, the operations room contributes to a sense of security among citizens and residents as it exemplifies dedication and vigilance, with personnel working tirelessly to ensure the safety of the public under all circumstances. Amid its intensive security efforts, the National Cybersecurity Center continued its national cyberspace monitoring operations, using advanced systems and technologies to detect and analyze threats and address them proactively. The National Cybersecurity Center confirmed the detection of a number of cyber activities and threats targeting some digital systems in the country under the current circumstances. According to the head of the National Cybersecurity Center, Engineer Abir Al-Awadi, these attempts were dealt with immediately in accordance with approved protocols and procedures, reflecting the center's readiness to confront cyber threats and strengthen the stability of digital systems.
The Minister of State for Development and Sustainable Affairs, Dr. Reem Al-Fulej, conducted a field tour covering several shelters in the capital educational area to review the level of compliance with food storage requirements issued by the Public Authority for Food and Nutrition. The minister said that this tour comes within the frameworks of the national plan aimed at enhancing the emergency response system and establishing safety standards in food storage operations within shelter facilities. She added that the follow-up work focused on verifying the efficiency of storage systems, preventing food loss and waste, ensuring the safe delivery of food to all segments of the society, and enhancing the readiness of national facilities to handle various emergency conditions. She further confirmed the continued monitoring of the food security system in a precise and systematic manner, and that ongoing coordination with the relevant authorities to ensure a safe and sustainable food environment in all state facilities continues. The tour also included reviewing temperatures in storage areas and food preservation methods, in addition to confirming that working teams adhere to the approved health and safety requirements. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue our live coverage tonight, but we will take a momentary break to take a look at the latest news in our 8 p.m. brief. Stay tuned for more.